Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cinetations, the new and improved Cinetations. Today, we're going to be talking about a movie that I saw this past weekend called Hereditary. Now, basically, what I'm talking about here is basically everything in the production side and more detail in the story and my thoughts on before I saw it and after I saw it. So basically, it's the same thing as the normal Cinetations, but it's a lot more in depth. So, Hereditary, the genre of this movie, is a supernatural horror drama. The release date was June 8th, this last Friday, in the United States at least, and it had some film festival runs before then. The runtime for this movie is 127 minutes long. The production companies there's three of them. There's Palm Star Media, Finch Entertainment, and Windy Hill Pictures. And this movie is distributed by A24. A24 horror films are basically just like very artsy-fartsy horror films. You got The Witch, and It Comes at Night, and I think there's like maybe one or two others. The Monster, and I think there's maybe like one more. But their horror movies they tend to distribute or make tend to be more artsy, more like clever, more metaphorical in some of the storylines. So the budget for Hereditary was $10 million. And so far, as of Sunday, June 10th, it made about $13 million. So it's made its budget as far as film-wise. I don't know about advertisement, because I don't think they include advertisement in the budget for the film. So as far as the budget of the film goes, they made the budget back, plus $3 extra million. And it's only on its first weekend. The actors in this movie are... Oh, God, I am terrible at pronouncing these. So I'm going to have the names show up on the screen because I'm terrible at pronouncing names. You got Tony Clennett, who plays Annie Graham. Annie Graham. I'm terrible at names. You got Alex Wolff, who plays Peter. Millie Shabrio plays Charlie, and Gabriel Bryan plays Steve. And that's the whole Graham family. And then you got Anna Dowd plays Joan. Joan. So, then we're going to get into the thoughts of the movie before I saw it. I knew I was getting into watching A24. An A24 distributed horror film. It's going to be very artsy. A lot of people are not going to like it. Some people don't get it, or not going to get it, and I'm going to sit in the theater afterward. People are like, what the hell did I just watch? Why did I watch it? It's a lot of the typical reactions after seeing a A24 horror film, because people expect to see like a commercial horror film with jump scares and stuff, while A24 doesn't really supply that. They supply more, like I said before, artsy, more creative, more, what do I call it? What's the word? They have meanings behind what they do in the films. And this one's no exception. It's just as much that. So my thoughts were going to go in, like, I was going to expect to see something similar to The Witch or It Comes at Night, which are two great films released by A24. So I went to the movie, and I saw it, and I came out, and we're going to talk about the story. At its core, it's a family drama film, dealing with the tragedies that come across this one family. Starting with the death of Annie's mother. The grandmother of the family dies in the very beginning, and she has her funeral. And then while the family deals with that, one night, Charlie and Peter went to a party that Annie forced Charlie to go to, because Charlie didn't want to go. Charlie, as a character, she's very awkward and very to herself. She doesn't want to be bothered by anyone else. She's very to herself in the way she wants to live. While Peter wants to be out there, smoke, drink, and enjoy life, and his sister is being forced to tag along. So they go to the party, and as Peter is smoking weed in one of the bedrooms, Charlie comes in, and she ate a piece of chocolate cake that has peanuts in it. Now, Charlie's heavily allergic to peanuts, so her throat starts closing up. So Peter, being Peter, takes her and back into the car and drives home, or drives to the nearest hospital, because Charlie's presumably going to die from eating peanuts. So at one point, Peter is going about 100 and some miles per hour, over 100 miles per hour, and Charlie rolls on the window to try to get some air so she could breathe. And what happens is a pole they hit a pole, or Charlie's head hits a pole going 100 miles per hour, and her head comes clean off. Peter is in shock. He keeps driving with the dead body in the back seat and goes home. Doesn't say anything, goes home, closes the car door, walks into his room, and goes to sleep. And I don't even think he goes to sleep that night. And then he shows a shot of him just laying in bed as he hears his mother scream after she discovers her dead body and her headless daughter's body in the car. So, yeah, tragedy. Like, I was told in other reviews that this movie was boring in the first couple hours. First, like, hour and a half, it was, like, very boring. And I'm like, where? Someone's head just got literally cleaned off. What do you mean? So, from this point in the movie, the family dynamics are falling apart. The family starts turning on each other. Things are said that are not meant to be said. They're very harsh to each other. The family dynamic is very... You can see the family just crumbling at the seams because of the tragedy of the grandmother dying and now one of the children died. And you come to discover that the mother starts dabbling in the supernatural. She comes across this woman at this meetup where they talk about grief, handling grief, and how to deal with grief. This group, I can't remember the society's name is, but there's like a big group of people that meet up and talk about their grief and how they have to deal with it. And it's basically a support group for people who lost family members and children and what have you. And then she meets a woman named Joan who talks her into doing a seance to talk to the dead family member, in this case Charlie. So she goes over to Joan's house. She shows her that it's real. And then Annie goes home, and later on that night, she wakes up her whole family saying, oh, I can talk to Charlie. And she proves that she can talk to the dead, which is Charlie. And at this point, the supernatural aspect starts really kicking in full freaking gear. Shit gets weird. You start noticing these little things here and there that are just out of the ordinary, and they're just... Stuff gets weird. And they come to find out at the end, at the climax of everything, that Peter is starting to get possessed by Charlie, or an entity that they thought was Charlie. But it turns out the grandmother was part of a cult, and they needed the firstborn son to be the host for this thing. And the grandmother was very fond of Charlie, so they put Charlie in Peter's body. I know it's very weird and very kind of confusing, but they put Charlie's spirit into Peter, and Peter's body became the host of this demon named, oh god, give me a sec. Oh god, this demon, Paimon, which is one of the 8 kings of hell, or princes. No, 8 kings. He's one of the 8 kings of hell. So it turns out this whole movie started as a family tragedy and ended being a ritual cult of one of the 8 kings of hell brought into the earth. They gave him a host, and one of the kings of hell is now on the planet Earth. This movie was very weird. And I don't think me explaining it does it justice, to be perfectly honest, because there was some stuff I missed because I was just so versed in the world. The jump scares in this movie were freaking great. Wow. There weren't even jump scares. What am I talking about? There weren't even jump scares. The way they did the scares in this movie is that they put the scares in front of you from the get-go. There's no loud sounds except for maybe a few, but the majority of the good scares, of the solid scares, where they put it in front of you from the get-go, in the background. So if you watch this movie, pay attention to the background, because that's when shit gets real. Because you start noticing people in the background, and members of this cult, and the mother on top of the ceiling, and this movie is it's a really good horror film. And anyone who likes The Witch, or It Comes at Night, should watch this movie. Straight up. Should watch this movie because they'll probably enjoy it as much as I did. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go see it again because I don't think I explained this movie justice, and I feel like I missed some things, and I want to see this movie again to learn more about this movie. So, yeah. So that is Hereditary. Now, now we're going to talk about cinematography. It was great, creative, very inventive, not your typical horror film on the way it was shot. They played around with a lot of angles, and lighting was great. And everything, like I said, with the jump scares, everything was like wide shots. You saw everything that was going on. Someone didn't pop out from the corner. They displayed everything from the get-go. And honestly, that was more terrifying than a typical jump scare you see in a normal horror film. Personally speaking, I rather, because if you see it up front in your face from the get-go and there's no like hiding, it's just right there in plain sight. That's more terrifying, especially if the character doesn't know they're behind them, or if they're in the ceiling or wherever. That's more terrifying to me. And Barb's probably listening to this going, you said a lot. I'm like, okay, it's the first episode of Cinetations. Chill. So thank you guys, and I guess we're going to keep the rating system. I give this rating a 9 out of 10, I guess. 9 out of 10 for this movie. 9 out of 10. It's a good horror movie. Go see it. So thank you guys for watching Cinetations, where we see if a film hold up to our expectations, and it did. It held up to my expectations. I already knew what I was getting into, but it blew me away, especially with the ending of that. It was a ritual to conjure up a demon king, one of the 8 demon kings of hell. So this is great. It's a great movie. Yeah. So stuff is gonna get more tight, like more scripted and stuff, because I'm very much like So just next episode in 2 weeks is gonna be great. It's gonna be mythical and magical. I'm working on it. It's dealing with more me rather than the show itself. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week with A Temple of Helios, which I am very happy to be making. So next episode of Temple of Helios is going to be great. So see you guys next Monday. Or for me, I'll see you Wednesday when I do a special show on Wednesday. Thank you and good night.